An ideal society should be mobile, should be full of channels for conveying a change taking place in one part to other parts. In an ideal society, there should be many interests consciously communicated and shared. There should be varied and free points of contact with other modes of association. In other words, there should be social endosmosis. This is fraternity, which is only another name for democracy. Democracy is not merely a form of government. It is primarily a mode of associated living, of conjoint communicated experience. It is essentially an attitude of respect and reverence towards fellow men. Dr.B.R. Ambedkar in Annihilation of Caste. Dear friends, to understand Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's views on caste is an integral part of syllabus of political science students. But before discussing his views on caste in own words and also examine the relevance of his views in today's time, it is important to first go through his own writings on caste. So, let us try to explore his views on caste. Today, I am going to read out an essay written by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and also presented at a seminar of Dr. A. Goldenweizer at the Columbia University, New York, USA on 9th March 1916. The name of the paper is Caste in India, Their Mechanism, Genesis and Development. প্ৰিয় ছাত্ৰ-ছাত্ৰীসকল, ৰাজনীতি বিজ্ঞানৰ ছাত্ৰ-ছাত্ৰীসকলৰ কাৰণে ডক্টৰ B.R. আম্বেদকাৰৰ কাষ্ট সম্পৰ্কে দৃষ্টিভংগীৰ বিষয়ে জনাটো পাঠ্যক্ৰমৰ এক খুব দৰকাৰী অংশ। কিন্তু তেখেতৰ কাষ্ট সম্পৰ্কে দৃষ্টিভংগীৰ বিষয়ে নিজৰ ভাষাৰে আলোচনা কৰিবলৈ যোৱাৰ আগতে আৰু লগতে তেওঁৰ এই দৃষ্টিভংগীৰ বৰ্তমান সময়ত প্ৰাসংগিকতাক পৰীক্ষা কৰিবলৈ যোৱাৰ আগতে আচলতে আমি তেখেতে নিজে কাষ্ট সম্পৰ্কে কি লিখি থৈ গৈছিল সেয়া জানি লোৱাটো বেছি দৰকাৰ। গতিকে আজিৰ ক্লাছত আহাচোন আমি ডক্টৰ B.R. আম্বেদকাৰে নিজে লিখা আৰু এখন সেমিনাৰত পাঠ কৰা এখন ৰচনা প্ৰথমে পঢ়ি লওঁ। তেওঁৰ পেপাৰখনৰ নাম হৈছে কাষ্ট ইন ইণ্ডিয়া, দেয়াৰ মেকানিজম, জেনেচিছ এণ্ড ডেভেলপমেণ্ট। এই পেপাৰখন তেওঁ ডক্টৰ A. গোল্ডেনৱাইজাৰৰ এন্থ্ৰপলজিৰ সেমিনাৰত পাঠ কৰিছিল, যিখন কলম্বিয়া ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিত 1916 চনৰ 9 মেৰ দিনা তেওঁ পাঠ কৰিছিল। Caste in India. Many of us, I dare say, have witnessed local, national or international expositions of material objects that make up the sum total of human civilization. But few can entertain the idea of there being such a thing as an exposition of human institutions. Exhibition of human institutions is a strange idea. Some might call it the wildest of ideas. But as students of ethnology, I hope you will not be hard on this innovation, for it is not so, and to you at least, it should not be strange. You all have visited, I believe, some historic place like the ruins of Pompeii and listened with curiosity to the history of the remains as it flowed from the glib tongue of the guide. In my opinion, a student of ethnology, in one sense at least, is much like the guide. Like his prototype, he holds up, perhaps with more seriousness and desire of self-instruction, the social institutions to view with all the objectiveness humanly possible and inquires into their origin and function. Most of our fellow students in this seminar, which concerns itself with primitive versus modern society, have ably acquitted themselves along these lines by giving lucid expositions of the various institutions, modern or primitive, in which they are interested. It is my turn now, this evening to entertain you as best I can with a paper on caste in India, their mechanism, genesis, and development. I need hardly remind you of the complexity of the subject I intend to handle. Suppler minds and abler pens than mine have been brought to the task of unraveling the mysteries of caste. But unfortunately, it still remains in the domain of the unexplained, not to say of the ununderstood. I am quite alive to the complex intricacies of a hoary institution like caste, but I am not so pessimistic as to relegate it to the region of the unknowable, for I believe it can be known. The caste problem is a vast one, both theoretically and practically. Practically, it is an institution that portends tremendous consequences. It is a local problem, but one capable of much wider mischief. For, quote, as long as caste in India does exist, Hindus will hardly intermarry or have any social intercourse with outsiders. And if Hindus migrate to other regions on earth, Indian caste would become a world problem, unquote. Theoretically, it has defied a great many scholars who have taken upon themselves, as a labor of love, to dig into its origin. Such being the case, I cannot treat the problem in its entirety. Time, space, and acumen, I am afraid, would all fail me if I attempted to do otherwise than limit myself to a phase of it, namely the genesis, mechanism, and spread of the caste system. I will strictly observe this rule and will dwell on extraneous matters only when it is necessary to clarify or support a point in my thesis. To proceed with the subject, according to well-known ethnologists, the population of India is a mixture of Aryans, Dravidians, Mongolians, and Scythians. All these stocks of people came into India from various directions and with various cultures centuries ago when they were in a tribal state. They all in turn elbowed their entry into the country by fighting with their predecessors, and after a stomachful of it settled down as peaceful neighbors. Through constant contact and mutual intercourse, they evolved a common culture that superseded their distinctive cultures. It may be granted that there has not been a thorough amalgamation of the various stocks that make up the peoples of India, and to a traveler from within the boundaries of India, the East presents a marked contrast in physique and even in color to the West, as does the South to the North. But amalgamation can never be the sole criterion of homogeneity as predicated of any people. Ethnically, all people are heterogeneous. It is the unity of culture that is the basis of homogeneity. Taking this for granted, I venture to say that there is no country that can rival the Indian peninsula with respect to the unity of its culture. It has not only a geographic unity, but it has over and above all a deeper and a much more fundamental unity, the indubitable cultural unity that covers the land from end to end. But it is because of this homogeneity that caste becomes a problem so difficult to be explained. If the Hindu society were a mere federation of mutually exclusive units, the matter would be simple enough. But caste is a parcelling of an already homogeneous unit, and the explanation of the genesis of caste is the explanation of this process of parcelling. Before launching into our field of inquiry, it is better to advise ourselves regarding the nature of a caste. I will therefore draw upon a few of the best students of caste for their definitions of it. Mr. Senard, a French authority, defines a caste as a close corporation, in theory, at any rate rigorously hereditary, equipped with a certain traditional and independent organization, including a chief and a council, meeting on occasion in assemblies of more or less plenary authority, and joining together at certain festivals, bound together by common occupations, which relate more particularly to marriage and to food and to questions of ceremonial pollution, and ruling its members by the exercise of jurisdiction, the extent of which varies, but which succeeds in making the authority of the community more felt by the sanction of certain penalties, and above all by final irrevocable exclusion from the group. Mr. Nesfield defines a caste as a class of the community which disowns any connection with any other class and can neither intermarry nor eat nor drink with any but persons of their own community. According to Sir H. Risley, a caste may be defined as a collection of families or groups of families bearing a common name which usually denotes or is associated with specific occupation, claiming common descent from a mythical ancestor, human or divine, professing to follow the same professional calling, and are regarded by those who are competent to give an opinion as forming a single homogeneous community. Dr.B.R. defines caste as a social group having two characteristics. Membership is confined to those who are born of members and includes all persons so born. The members are forbidden by an inexorable social law to marry outside the group. To review these definitions is of great importance for our purpose. It will be noticed that taken individually, the definitions of three of the writers include too much or too little. None is complete or correct by itself, and all have missed the central point in the mechanism of the caste system. Their mistake lies in trying to define caste as an isolated unit by itself and not as a group within and with definite relations to the system of caste as a whole. Yet collectively, all of them are complementary to one another, each one emphasizing what has been obscured in the other. By way of criticism, therefore, I will take only those points common to all castes in each of the above definitions, which are regarded as peculiarities of caste, and evaluate them as such. To start with Mr. Sennard, he draws attention to the idea of pollution as a characteristic of caste. With regard to this point, it may be safely said that it is by no means a peculiarity of caste as such. It usually originates in priestly ceremonialism and is a particular case of the general belief in purity. Consequently, its necessary connection with caste may be completely denied without damaging the working of caste. The idea of pollution has been attached to the institution of caste only because the caste that enjoys the highest rank is the priestly caste, which, while we know that priest and purity are all associates, we may therefore conclude that the idea of pollution is a characteristic of caste only insofar as caste has a religious flavor. Mr. Nesfield, in his way, dwells on the absence of messing with those outside the caste as one of its characteristics. In spite of the newness of the point, we must say that Mr. Nesfield has mistaken the effect for the cause. Caste, being a self-enclosed unit, naturally limits social intercourse, including messing, etc., to members within it. Consequently, this absence of messing with outsiders is not due to positive prohibition, but is a natural result of caste, that is, exclusiveness. No doubt, this absence of messing, originally due to exclusiveness, acquired the prohibitory character of a religious injunction, but it may be regarded as a later growth. Sir H. Risley makes no new point deserving of special attention. We now pass on to the definition of Dr. B.R., who has done much for the elucidation of the subject. Not only is he a native, but he has also brought a critical acumen and an open mind to bear on his study of caste. His definition merits consideration, for he has defined caste in its relation to a system of caste and has concentrated his attention only on those characteristics which are absolutely necessary for the existence of a caste within a system, rightly excluding all others as being secondary or derivative in character. With respect to his definition, it must, however, be said that in it there is a slight confusion of thought, lucid and clear as otherwise it is. He speaks of prohibition of intermarriage and membership by autogeny as the two characteristics of caste. I submit that there are but two aspects of one and the same thing, and not two different things as Dr. Ambedkar supposes them to be. If you prohibit intermarriage, the result is that you limit membership to those born within the group. Thus, the two are the obverse and the reverse sides of the same medal. This critical evaluation of the various characteristics of caste leaves no doubt that prohibition, or rather the absence of intermarriage, endogamy, to be concise, is the only one that can be called the essence of caste when rightly understood. But some may deny this on abstract anthropological grounds, for there exist endogamous groups without giving rise to the problem of caste. In a general way, this may be true, as endogamous societies culturally different, making their abode in localities more or less removed and having little to do with each other are a physical reality. The Negroes and the whites and the various tribal groups that go by name of American Indians in the United States may be cited as more or less appropriate illustrations in support of this view. But we must not confuse matters, for in India, the situation is different. As pointed out before, the peoples of India form a homogeneous whole. The various races of India occupying definite territories have more or less fused into one another and do possess cultural unity, which is the only criterion of a homogeneous population. Given this homogeneity as a basis, caste becomes a problem altogether new in character and wholly absent in the situation constituted by the mere propinquity of endogamous social or tribal groups. Caste in India means an artificial chopping off of the population into fixed and definite units, each one prevented from fusing into another through the custom of endogamy. Thus, the conclusion is inevitable that endogamy is the only characteristic that is peculiar to caste, and if we succeed in showing how endogamy is maintained, we shall practically have proof the genesis and also the mechanism of caste. It may not be quite easy for you to anticipate why I regard endogamy as a key to the mystery of the caste system. Not to strain your imagination too much, I will proceed to give you my reasons for it. মৰমৰ ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰী